Is the big one coming? The internet is on edge as the NASA aircraft surveys California. As we know, it surveys for new hotspots, new thermal areas. This is one way they have recently found a new thermal area at the Yellowstone volcano, taking images at night so that they don't have any type of misleading information from the heat of the day. And now it's surveying California. Sputnik News reports when the U.S. Aerospace Agency brings a plane to zigzag over fault lines that could conceivably bring down America West Coast, catastrophe, earthquakes, there must be a reason. But which one exactly? So internet users are getting suspicious. A NASA aircraft was spotted flying over California last week, and it sparked fears that the Aerospace Agency perhaps knows something that it's not telling. This is according to the Daily Star report on Monday. According to the report, internet users surprised at the sight of a registered NASA plane and a SA-817, the venerable Douglas DC-8. This is a picture of a Douglas that we have here, transiting the skies above California, took to air traffic tracking websites to discover the plane's route is closely matched to the notorious San Andreas fault. So they claim that it could be then imaging the area of the San Andreas fault. It's not only images that they take, they also take earthquake gas and volcanic gas readings as well. There's a number of things that they can test and examine in this way. The plane's track has zigzagged back and forth along the fault multiple times, leaving no room for a coincidence. This is what Christopher Mantei tweets. He has an image of the tracking zipping along, and I'll show you. He says, what the heck? NASA flying low over California fault lines. And let's take a look at this together. See. The tracking going back and forth over the San Andreas fault. So this is not a coincidence. Very nicely done. Very geometric, right over the fault. NASA 817 live flight tracking and history, DC 87, owned by whatever. Okay, so San Andreas, as we know, is a 750-mile-long boundary between two massive tectonic plates, the Pacific plunging underneath the North American plate. And for years, there have been fears that the big earthquake, nicknamed the Big One, will erupt, will rip along the fault line, and it would spark, of course, as we know, a large tsunami that could drown and bathe the U.S. West Coast, which would go down at least 3 feet immediately, they said. Now, we have been told that after the recent Ridgecrest earthquakes in South California, around the China Lake area, in the Mojave Desert, we know that the Big One earthquake has not been mitigated. The chances of the big one happening in the southern section of the San Andreas is still going to take place. This is according to USGS geologist and Dr. Lucy Jones. Over and over again, they're saying, don't be relieved that just because the Ridgecrest has taken place, that San Andreas will not take place. So now they're testing this. They're keeping a very good lookout for what's going on underneath. NASA has not commented on the movement of the aircraft in the area, according to what the Star reports. Internet conspiracy enthusiasts did not miss the opportunity to make wild guesses as to why these flights were taking place. One YouTuber, Tyler Glockner of Secure Team 10, where were we here? Floating possibility the agency knows something about the dreaded monster Big One earthquake but is not in a hurry to tell us about it. Okay. Flying over belongs to NASA. What are they looking at? Okay, obviously, they're testing it. Recently, California sustained the two earthquakes, as we know, the July 4th and the July 5th, the 6.4 and the 7.1. The 6.4 was on a different fault than the 7.1. We've had aftershocks that have been going up towards the area of the, let's see if I can get into my Google Earth. And here we are. San Andreas fault is this thing here. And this is a garlic fault, which is locked in, zippered in, closed tight with San Andreas. And to the east, we have the area of the Ridgecrest earthquakes. And this is Long Valley, this is Mount Whitney around here. Let's move in. Mount Whitney, where is it? Mount Williamson, Mount Whitney, okay. I think that's not far at all from, let's see. As we know, Long Valley Caldera is, it's about 81 miles. It's a supervolcano, and from what the USGS has told us, Clear Lake is a part of Long Valley Caldera supervolcano. That's a beautiful radius, as you can see here. If you take another radius down that way, this definitely takes in this area of Ridgecrest as part of the supervolcano of Long Valley Caldera. We have Nevada and Utah, 20 supervolcanoes, as we saw as well. So this whole area is boiling underneath. This is subduction zone. The Pacific plate plunging underneath the North American plate. And this area here is something that the geologists have not yet mentioned. Maybe we should write a letter to USGS asking why they have not mentioned the fact that this Walker Lane fault system has not been mentioned by anybody. And this is a huge potential disaster because it gives mega-quakes, 8 and 9 magnitude Richter. So we see that the area here, it used to be an L-shaped in quakes before the 6.4 of July 4th, the 7.1 July 5th hit, and now they're moving up this way. Mount Whitney, Inyo National, which is a volcanic field as well. It's a causal field, a volcanic field. That's a beautiful crater there. You can see it from the air up high. That's called Volcano Peak Volcano. Beautiful lava flows, dark as if they were made just yesterday. And also the Garlic Fault. So they're going towards the Orange Valley Fault and towards the Garland Fault. And of course we know that this whole system is locked in. Again, I'm going to say it. What's the proof that it's locked in? Well, we had an earthquake a day before the July 4th. We had actually 13 hours before that, July 3rd, 6.2 here north of Vancouver Island, Canada. And it hit the next day, 13 hours later, morning of July 4th in Ridgecrest. This happened in 2015 as well. They had a 6.2 off Canada. 24 hours later, they had a 3.5. 24 hours later at Ridgecrest exactly, which means that this whole thing is locked and loaded. The pressure here hit and had an earthquake down here. This whole Walker Lane fault system goes off into this area here. As you can see it, you can see the mountain range. That's on the Walker Lane fault system with the high threat volcanoes on it, and it's plunging, hitting to the north this way at the Cascadia Arc system. That's a short thing of the movement and the locking in of the faults of the California, Oregon, Washington area. West Coast, they have warned us that in 30 years we should have a magnitude, well, major megathrust earthquake along the southern area near Los Angeles. Here's Los Angeles. Also the northern area which is overdue for an earthquake. The last one was in the year 1700. Every 300 years they have earthquakes there, from what USGS found from the sedimentary proof here. And also the middle is also around this Portland area. This thing here. Now, okay, so the whole area, this whole area is, of course, they have warnings that big ones are expected. So they're flying to find out if we're having any type of changes. They measure the heat, the gas emissions, perhaps also the gravity. If they have an increase in gravity, that means that there's magma bodies coming up farther towards the surface. And also we have the frequency of earthquakes, obviously. The temperature, frequency of earthquakes, the gravity, deformation, of course, coming with that. And that's from the GPS that they have there, they're monitoring that. And hopefully they'll come back with the information to the people. So they're doing the zigzag flying over the San Andreas, as we've seen. That's evident. It's not coincidence. And we know that the two earthquakes that hit means that this area will be rattling for quite a long time yet, because they were very big in an area that has a very thin crust, and it has a magma chamber. Ridgecrest has a magma chamber, and they have, Channel Lake has one of the biggest geothermal plants in the country, and the other one is at the geysers around Clear Lake, that's the biggest in the world, and they are extracting the energy, using the energy to give electricity to 270,000 households there. So one commenter responding to Blockner's video suggesting NASA was surveying the fault to check whether the two quakes caused any changes that the US government should be worried about. Others, however, are more dramatic. They said the government has brought NASA in to see if they can predict when she will erupt, because supposedly we are overdue for the big one. Now, at the time of the writing of this, they say the plane left California and is currently conducting a mission over Helena Lewis and Clark National Forest in Montana. Montana, there we are. And Montana, as we know, is right next to Yellowstone. And Montana has been having biggish earthquakes, moderate size, because why? Because it's got a tremendous number of mines there. And they're mining sapphire stones and precious and semi-precious stones as well. So they could be blasting, they're mine quakes, or they could be somehow related to the activity of Yellowstone. Anything going on there, of course, is not good for Yellowstone. Anything around Yellowstone is not good for that as well. So, yeah. Maybe it's going towards Montana, maybe as it will be around Montana and very close to Yellowstone, it could, of course, be going and flying over Yellowstone as well. We don't know, but I would venture to say that that's very feasible. I'll leave links below for you for this. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.